My toe bone's connected to my foot bone. My foot bone's connected to my heel bone.
Somewhere right now, a grown man is humming a theme song he hasn't heard in 30 years. That's what the Munsters does. It lives in a room in your brain you forgot you had. 2 seasons, 1 haunted house, a family of monsters who loved harder than any normal family on television. But the real lives behind those costumes? One couldn't escape the makeup for decades. One took the role just to survive. One ran for governor. And one nearly didn't make it out alive. Fred Gwynne, Herman Munster.
You don't want? My own wife doesn't want me to kiss her.
Frederick Hubbard Gwynne, born July 10, 1926, New York City, was a Harvard-educated 6'5" serious actor who wanted Shakespeare. What he got was 50 pounds of foam rubber and a bolt through his neck. His towering frame made him the only real choice for Herman, and the pilot was practically written around his body. Every day meant 3 hours in the makeup chair, losing up to 10 pounds per episode in sweat.
Fred was a very intelligent guy, and he would debate things that he thought needed to be debated.
He called the costume exhausting and bruising, and did it for 68 episodes without complaint. After the show, typecasting nearly buried him. Directors saw the forehead, not the Harvard man. 2 divorces, 5 children. A quiet stretch writing brilliant children's books nobody expected from a sitcom monster. Then in 1992, My Cousin Vinny finally set him free. Judge Chamberlain Haller, the role of his life. No makeup, no monster, just a razor-sharp actor proving what he'd always been. He didn't get long. Pancreatic cancer took Fred Gwynne on July 2nd, 1993.
As a TV dad, he was the best you could ask for. Some of my favorite memories were working with Fred in our little father and son talks.
He was 66, barely a year past his greatest triumph. Net worth at death, roughly $2 million. In his last interviews, he called Herman a fellow I can't stop liking. The scariest looking dad on TV was secretly the sweetest. Proof that monsters make the best family men. Yvonne De Carlo, Lily Munster. Margaret Yvonne Middleton, born September 1st, 1922 in Vancouver, was Hollywood royalty before she ever touched a fang. By the 50s, she was dancing opposite Charlton Heston in the 10 Commandments, one of the most glamorous faces in the business.
I had done the 10 Commandments and other things that people remember.
Then her world collapsed. In 1955, she married stuntman Bob Morgan. In 1961, a train stunt went wrong and Bob lost a leg. The medical debt was crushing. The film roles dried up. When Universal offered her the part of Lily Munster, a vampire wife on a monster sitcom, Yvonne didn't take it for the art. She took it to keep her family alive. She later joked she did it to pay the bills. There's a laugh in that line, but a wound underneath it too. Yet she made Lily unforgettable. The white streak, the floor-length gown, the way she looked at Herman like he was the most handsome man on earth.
Your father is just naturally a sweet and kind man. Aren't you, pussycat?
I try to be.
She held that monster family together with elegance no script could have written. After the show, her marriage crumbled. Divorced 1973. 2 sons raised largely alone. She fought back through Broadway, a best-selling autobiography, and small roles until retiring in 1995. Yvonne De Carlo passed away January 8, 2007, age 84, from heart failure after a stroke. The screen siren who once danced with the devil ended up the glamorous vampire mom who just wanted her family to fit in. Al Lewis, Grandpa Munster. If Fred Gwynne was the heart and Yvonne was the soul, then Al Lewis was the chaos. And trust me, his real life was even wilder than Grandpa's basement experiments. He was born Abraham Meister on April 30th, 1923 in New York City. Before Hollywood, Al had already lived 3 lifetimes: street kid, political activist, basketball scout, vaudeville performer. The man had energy that could power a city block. He'd already been teamed with Fred Gwynne on Car 54 Where Are You? And when the Munsters came along, it was a reunion.
The phone rang. He said, by the way, we're doing a pilot for a new series. Would you be interested? At first, I thought it was an idiot friend of mine, playing a practical joke.
The 2 of them had a chemistry that couldn't be faked. Lifelong best friends who genuinely loved making each other laugh. As Grandpa, Al Lewis created one of the most beloved characters in 60s television. The 136-year-old retired Dracula who spent his days in the basement inventing things that exploded, giving terrible advice, and stealing every single scene he walked into.
A pinch of GL70.
Kids loved Grandpa because he was the adult who acted like a kid. Parents loved him because Al Lewis was genuinely, effortlessly funny in a way that didn't need a laugh track. Unlike Fred, Al embraced the makeup, the cape, the whole thing. He loved it. He wore the Grandpa costume to fan events for the rest of his life. But here's where Al Lewis's story goes somewhere nobody expected. After the Munsters, he didn't chase Hollywood. He opened a famous Italian restaurant in Greenwich Village called Grandpa's Bella Gente. Yes, a Munster-themed Italian restaurant in downtown Manhattan. And it became a genuine neighborhood institution. Al once joked he made more money from pasta than he ever made from residuals. And knowing what the cast got paid, he probably wasn't kidding. He hosted a late-night radio show on WBAI. He became a vocal political activist, fiery, opinionated, impossible to ignore. And in 1998, at 75 years old, Al Lewis ran for governor of New York on the Green Party ticket. Grandpa Munster, running for governor of New York. This actually happened. He didn't win, obviously, but he got enough votes to secure the Green Party's ballot line for the next election cycle, which was exactly what he wanted. The man played politics the same way he played Grandpa, loud, strategic, and with a wink. Al was married twice, to Marge Domowitz and later to Karen Ingenthron. 3 sons, a full, noisy, beautifully chaotic life. He passed away on February 3rd, 2006 at the age of 82 from natural causes. No scandals, no tragic fade. He went out exactly the way he lived, on his own terms, still Grandpa, still grinning. The Grandpa who looked 136 but acted like a mischievous kid, the wildest heart in the family. Beverley Owen, Marilyn Munster. Now here's a story that lasts 13 episodes and a lifetime. Beverly Jane Ogg was born May 13, 1937 in Ottumwa, Iowa. She came to Hollywood with the same dream as 1,000 other young actresses, and she got further than most. She landed the role of Marilyn Munster, the plain niece in the Munster family, the one the audience knew was beautiful but the Munsters thought was tragically ugly. It was a clever inversion, and Beverly played it with a soft, wholesome warmth that made the joke work.
I'd like you to meet my date. This is Jack. Oh, Uncle Herman.
But she hated it. The hours were long, the work was grinding, and Beverly had fallen in love with a man named John Stone.
I got a call to come and do a pilot, and I said, but I'm in love with someone in New York, I don't want to move to... Well, just come out and do the pilot, and I did. Who
would go on to help create Sesame Street. After just 13 episodes, she told the producers she was done. She wanted to get married and live a real life. Hollywood said fine. They replaced her and moved on.
She started to cry and cry and cry, and finally she just didn't want to even come to work.
And Beverly did exactly what she said she would. She married John Stone in 1964. And here's a detail that makes the story even richer. John Stone would go on to become one of the creators of Sesame Street. So while the Munsters kept running in syndication for decades, the original Marilyn's husband was quietly building one of the most important children's shows in television history. 2 different legacies running on parallel tracks from the same household. They had 2 daughters, Polly and Kate. When the marriage ended after 10 years, Beverly didn't go back to acting. She went back to school. She earned a master's degree in history and became a college professor, living a quiet, dignified, completely un-Hollywood life for the next 4 decades. She never attended a single Munsters convention, she never did a reunion, she never looked back. Not out of bitterness, she simply chose a different path and stayed on it. Her mother had died young, back in 1953. Later, Beverly herself was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. She passed away on February 21st, 2019 at the age of 81. The Marilyn, who was only on screen for 13 episodes, helped launch the whole Munster legend, then chose real life over fame and never once regretted it. Pat Priest, Marilyn Munster. So the first Marilyn walked away, and the woman who stepped in ended up outlasting nearly everyone. Patricia Ann Priest was born August 15, 1936 in Bountiful, Utah. She was 28 when she inherited the role, stepping in seamlessly when Beverley Owen left.
When I went in to do the test, I happened to fit into Beverly's clothes. They dressed me like Beverly, they did my hair like Beverly, and I guess I was enough of the same stature.
Playing the normal niece for the remaining 57 episodes and the 1966 film Munster Go Home. Pat understood something about Marilyn that was easy to miss. The joke wasn't that Marilyn was plain. The joke was that love is blind. That this family adored each other so completely they couldn't see what the rest of the world saw. Pat played it with sweetness, never mugging, never pushing the bit too hard. She let the family's love be the real comedy. And it worked. Behind the scenes, Pat felt the pressure to stay slim and camera ready. The pretty one in a family of monsters carries a different kind of weight, but she was warm with the cast. Yvonne De Carlo became a mentor. Butch Patrick became a lifelong friend, a kid brother she still talks to today. After the Munsters, Pat did the usual guest spot circuit. Bewitched, Perry Mason, the shows you cycled through if you were a working actress in the late 60s. But she eventually stepped away from acting entirely and built a second career in real estate in Idaho. A quiet life, a stable one. In 2001, Pat was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. She fought it. She won. She's been in remission for over 2 decades. Today, Pat Priest is 89 years old. She still appears at fan conventions alongside Butch Patrick, still gets recognized, still gets fan mail, 60 years after playing the girl the Munster family thought was the ugly one. The plain niece who was secretly the most beautiful, and the one who still gets letters proving it. Butch Patrick, Eddie Munster. We saved this one for a reason. Patrick Allen Lilly was born August 2nd, 1953 in Inglewood, California. He was 11 years old when he became Eddie Munster, the little werewolf kid with the widow's peak and the pointy ears who just wanted to be a regular boy. And the way he got there is the kind of Hollywood accident that only happens to kids. His sister was signed with a modeling agency. Through that connection, Butch got an audition. He beat out 500 other boys. The original child actor from the pilot was replaced. And suddenly, an 11-year-old from Inglewood was the most famous little monster on television. Eddie was the kid in the family, literally and emotionally. The wolf boy who played with his pet dragon, who went to school and tried to fit in.
Is Daddy playing poker all night with those men from the office?
No, dear.
Who bridged the gap between monster weirdness and childhood innocence. Butch loved the wolf makeup. He loved the cast. He had a particularly close bond with Pat Priest, almost like a big sister, little brother thing that's held up for 60 years. By all accounts, the set was a happy place for him.
Corny, why don't you dress up as a lady gorilla or something pretty like that?
The trouble came later. After the Munsters ended, Butch kept working. Lidsville, a few guest spots, voice roles, but as the 70s rolled in, the work slowed and something darker took its place. Butch Patrick fell into drug addiction. Not the glamorous rock star kind. The lonely, spiraling, where did everybody go kind. It swallowed up the 70s and most of the 80s. The kid who used to get recognized in grocery stores was now invisible, and the invisibility was its own kind of poison. The little werewolf boy who'd made millions of kids laugh was fighting a battle no one was watching. And then, on top of everything, came a cancer diagnosis, prostate cancer. The kind of news that forces a man to decide what his life is actually going to be about. Butch chose to fight. He went to rehab in 2010. He got sober. He got clean. And then he did something remarkable. He built his entire life around the thing most former child stars run from. He didn't just accept the Eddie Munster legacy, he became it. He started a Munster-themed business. He acquired a replica Munster car, the Dragula, Grandpa's coffin dragster. He hits the convention circuit full-time, signs autographs, takes photos, tells stories. He tours the country celebrating a show that aired when he was a child. And he does it with a joy that feels completely genuine. He married briefly in 2016, no children. He's currently single and sober. His estimated net worth sits somewhere between $250,000 and $2 million, depending on who you ask. Most of it earned not from residuals, but from showing up, shaking hands, and keeping Eddie alive. Today, Butch Patrick is 72 years old, the little werewolf boy who grew up, fell down, got back up, and became the biggest Munsters fan alive. Harvey Korman as Lenny Bates, Professor Fagenspan. Harvey Herschel Korman, born February 15, 1927, Chicago, spent 13 years trying to become somebody. 13 years. He waited tables, he sold cars, he stood in a doorman's uniform outside a movie theater watching other people's names go up in lights. He and a friend tried a nightclub comedy act. They were fired between the first and second shows on opening night. Then Hollywood happened. Not fast, not glamorous, but steady. The Danny Kaye Show. 3 guest spots on the Munsters at 37 years old, playing characters like Lenny Bates and Professor Fagenspan. Names nobody remembers from a show everybody loves. And then in 1967, the Carol Burnett Show changed everything. For 10 years, Harvey Korman was the funniest second banana on television. 4 Emmys, a Golden Globe. Mel Brooks called him dazzling and cast him as Hedley Lamar in Blazing Saddles, a role that should have made him a leading man forever. It didn't. His own sitcom lasted 5 episodes. 5. The man who could make Carol Burnett break character couldn't carry a show alone. 1 divorce, a second marriage that held. 4 kids who loved him. In January 2008, a ruptured aortic aneurysm nearly killed him. He survived surgery after surgery for 4 months, fighting with everything he had. His daughter Kate said he didn't want to die. On May 29, 2008, at 81, he stopped fighting. The funniest man who never got top billing, and the one who made every star around him shine brighter. Jane Withers as Fanny Pike / Pamela Thornton. Here's a name that used to be bigger than Shirley Temple's shadow. Jane Withers, born April 12, 1926, Atlanta, was performing on local radio at 3 years old. By 6, her mother had moved them to Hollywood with one mission: make this girl a star. And it worked! Jane became one of the biggest child actresses of the 1930s, cranking out 3 to 5 films a year, earning $2,500 a week as a kid during the Depression. Doll lines, endorsement deals, a 7-year studio contract, the only child star to ever complete one. Then she turned 21 and walked away. Marriage, 5 children, a quiet life, until 1956 when Giant pulled her back in. By the time she showed up on the Munsters at 38, playing Fanny Pike and Pamela Thornton across 2 episodes, she was already a Hollywood veteran 3 times over. Child star, comeback actress, working mother. Most guest stars were climbing. Jane had already climbed, come down, and climbed again. But her widest fame came not from film, but from a mop and a sink. Josephine the Plumber, the Comet Cleanser spokeswoman from 1963 to 1974. She used those commercial earnings to put all 5 kids through college. When her mother was diagnosed with a brain tumor, Jane stopped everything and became her caretaker for 8 years. That's who she was. The child star who grew into the woman who showed up. Jane Withers died August 7, 2021 at 95, surrounded by her children in Burbank. The little girl Hollywood built into a star who quietly built herself into something better. A mother, a caretaker, and a woman who never forgot where the real work was. Paul Lynde as Dr. Edward Dudley. This one's going to hurt. Paul Edward Lynde, born June 13, 1926, Mount Vernon, Ohio, was the 5th of 6 kids, the one who called himself the Nothing. His favorite brother Corydon was killed in the Battle of the Bulge in 1944. When the military recovered the body 5 years later, both parents died from grief within weeks of each other. Paul was 23. Orphaned by sorrow, he buried it in comedy. Broadway, Bye Bye Birdie. 3 appearances on the Munsters at 38 years old as Dr. Edward Dudley, the kind of twitchy, sharp guest role he could do in his sleep. But nobody on that set knew what was building inside him. Then Hollywood Squares made him the most famous quipster in America, the Center Square, the sharpest tongue on daytime television. But behind every perfectly timed punchline was a man suffocating. Paul Lynde was gay in an era that punished it, closeted, lonely, drinking himself into cruelty. In 1965, a young friend fell 8 stories from Paul's hotel window after a night of heavy drinking. The death was ruled accidental, but it followed him like a ghost. Arrests for public intoxication, friends pushed away, career offers drying up. He got sober in 1980, told friends he'd finally kicked it. 2 years later, on January 10, 1982, he didn't show up to a birthday party. His friend broke into the house and found him dead in bed. Heart attack. Alone. He was 55. The funniest man in the room who spent his whole life trying to leave it, and the room never even noticed he was hurting. So that's the Munsters cast then and now. The tragedies were real. Cancer, addiction, debt, loss. No laugh track for any of it. But where are they in 2026? Butch is still touring, still sober. Pat still gets fan mail at 89. And the ones who've passed are forever part of 1313 Mockingbird Lane. They were monsters on screen, family behind it. And some houses, no matter how haunted, always feel like home. If you want to know what happened to more of your childhood favorites, subscribe. We've got plenty more cast then and now coming your way.